this one. The format for today, by the way, is that I'm going to talk. That's what I'm doing now. And then after I'm done talking, we're going to have this panel, which I told you we're going to do. So I'm looking to see if the others can. I think we're just waiting on Claudia. If anyone sees Claudia coming up, let me know. All right. Two things in your packet. There's more than two, but there's two one-pagers. My favorite thing to create are one-pagers, fact sheets. The most that any community leader or corporate leader would ever read, and they can't even read this. They just look at the headers, so the headers are important. If we first look at the Global Ed Network, by the way, we have an in-kind design company. I mean, we don't really come up with this. I mean, this is the contribution that they make to us. So the reason this stuff looks cool is because we have a company whose head is German and loves the council. He's on our board, and so their $50,000 contribution is in kind and design support. And that is a really nice thing because it makes you look like you're all grown up, even when you're not, among your peers who are big organizations. So that's kind of a benefit that we have that I wish I could take credit for. The Global Ed Network started, let me take a step back. We did a visioning process in 2008. Our board said, we're doing okay, are we doing the right thing? So let's go talk to people. We talked to 36 community leaders personally, members, teachers, students. We also did a survey, and what we heard was this thing about we need more. We need leadership for the community. We need to see a little more efficiency so that we don't have to go to this community and that community and this international group and that international group. And, hey, are you guys sister cities? And what about IVC? Or is that you? And Columbus International Program? And are you connected with OSU? And all that kind of stuff. We needed some clarity for those that weren't engaged in the global affairs of the community every day. They don't really care who we all are. We all are the same. We're all 1, 2, 3 person organizations, at least in Columbus, who have an executive director, have a phone system, have an internet system. We have tons of redundancy, in my view. And so the community is recognizing that things. Maybe you guys should sort of get together a little bit and make our jobs a little bit easier. Our board looked at the responses, and we heard this theme about we need the leadership. And so we had to figure out how we're going to do it, because there's four people at the council in Columbus who are just under $500,000 budget. We got someone doing K-12 programs, someone doing public programs, administrative assistant, membership, etc., and then me. So do we have the capacity to do it, all that stuff? The one thing we did have, though, is there was a need that was demonstrated. And every funder, well, at least the ones, there's two kinds of funders that I think about. One is you got to do a proposal, and the other one is the one you don't. And the ones you have to do a proposal are a real pain. And for $5,000, you can do as much work as you do for $50,000, and it drives me crazy. But for those people that you have to do a proposal for, but the expressed need from the community is awesome. It's the best thing when you can say, well, we've surveyed, and this is what we heard. So that was a big plus. And also we wanted to respond to the needs of the community. So our board said, okay, A, we have a demonstrated need. Should we address it? Well, let's go to number 2. Is it mission aligned? Is this something within the purview of our mission? We defined our mission as to increase global awareness in the Columbus region. And that's pretty broad, right? So that didn't really help. The next thing is we realized that in order to be relevant and to actually make an impact that we felt proud, we needed to exponentially expand our impact, not gradually. The line was like this for several years, and that's good, right? I mean, U.S. economic growth looks like that. We needed it to be like this, and then all of a sudden go, in order to really make a difference. But the question is, how are you going to do that? So we knew we do technology and online, and do all those things that requires a little bit of work, but then have exponential growth. But we needed something else. Steve, welcome, Pittsburgh. Good to have you here. Another vote to count. Good to be here. The Martin Luther King said, I love this quote, this is not a time to take the tranquilizing drug gradually. And I love that quote, and I wish we were governed by such inspiration. I mean, I pulled that out because I like it. Not really, our board was not talking about Martin Luther King quotes. But the whole idea is that, yeah, we can grow, but so what? I mean, that's not the barometer. Are we reaching our community? We're not. No one knows who we are. I mean, people are like, who's the Council on World Affairs? I'm like, we've been around for almost 40 years. We're like, oh my gosh, how do we not know you guys? I don't know. But that's, so that's the challenge. And we knew that was something we had to do. So if we look then after the fact that we knew we wanted to expand exponentially, and we saw this idea of engaging, I call them multipliers. So you're not just educating a person, even a teacher, which reaches more. That's better. But we were like, man, we want to reach school districts, we want to reach the system level. We want to change things so that it becomes embedded and we don't have to constantly do the doing. So we saw that as a very good opportunity. But then the final thing came, which I have these notes that I tried to number them, but they don't work. Here we go. Money. So we knew we didn't have the staff to do it. If we got the money, we thought we could probably find the talent to do it. So the money was the big question. So we had all these great ideas and plans. But until the money comes, we can't do stuff. So the reason we pursued this, though, is because those first three, it was aligned with our mission. It was going to exponentially grow us, and it was in the community. We also then knew that there was money potential. That's the reason we went for it. It's kind of coincided. We didn't wait for the money and then do it. We said, you know what, we have a pretty good hunch that this is going to have some money behind it, which will then, we can scale up accordingly. Why did I think there was money? Our community foundation is really into this thing called capacity building, collaboration, mergers. Everyone that gives out money hates that there's so many of us. How many people have heard of that? Just one, huh? Kansas City, one. Yeah, Cleveland. Where? Vermont. And was it Joe? Raleigh? Appreciate Triangle. Yeah, I mean, I hear that all the time, and it's not just from the community foundations, which, by the way, had not funded us up until this point. The big Columbus Foundation, this is being recorded, so I have to be careful, because you get anointed by the community foundation, and once that happens, good things come, and we hadn't been anointed. But the other side of it is delivery of services. So the foundation and key funders wanted services delivered better. They knew the community was global, and they knew that there was disparate groups of us doing missions and education programs and things that were just sort of like this. That was good. Corporate community is a little more clear and a little more crude about their reasons for why they give. My contacts with companies, I hate having to read so many dang proposals. I hate that I have to meet with so many new guys. I mean, they don't actually say this, but some of them do. Can you just all get along and do one proposal? Can you start sharing things? Can you stop having the same event 10 times? Do you all have to have a fundraising lunch that I have to go to and I have to fill a table? It's a pain in the rear. We have to work so hard, and to leave the office doesn't work. You make it harder by requiring us to have a table. We don't want the damn table. We'd rather just give you the money and get you away. So there's this bandwidth limit for companies, and I think it's probably, I feel that way as an individual. The number of ads coming at us, at least political ads recently, is insane. The broader community had the need too, and I saw money. I didn't know if there was money there because we don't get any government money, but the city was saying, our only growth in population right now is through immigrants. And the regional planning group was saying that, and I guess it's good to grow. That's what they told me, it's good if the population grows. So they wanted to understand why that was. Why was there only growth in the immigrant community? Why was Cleveland in the north and Cincinnati to the south losing people and we were gaining people? And it was because of the immigrant population. So they wanted to better understand that and better figure out how to address that. What does that mean for social services? Housing. Our Somali community and housing and childcare and all that is not just working with Latinos, which is sort of the historic expertise, if you will. This is a much different environment for mid-sized cities especially that have not one large immigrant population like perhaps some on the southern border who have a large Mexican population. It's many at a smaller number. So our schools, we have 109 different languages spoken in our schools, just in our little area. In my kids' school, it's 29, and we're just in a little suburban Columbus, Ohio, school system. So it's that the demand is so high that the younger people that work with the younger populations, that they got this. That doesn't always mean money, though. The talk in the community by economic development folks about being globally competitive, beating China, STEM, all these, gosh, I can't stand that. But you have to know the tides, the momentum, the things you got to say, and you just start saying them, and all of a sudden, oh yeah, we're doing STEM. Boy, if those STEM graduates aren't globally literate, they're not going to be able to compete with China. Or India, whose kids come out with a STEM degree but also speak 4 languages and been around the world. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, we need to fund you. For what? I don't know. But it's not, I'm making that up. It's not actually happening. It's like dreaming. The other thing that was a big push and a lot of energy in the community was this idea of retaining talent. Columbus has the largest number of college-age students in the region after Boston. We got a bunch of universities there, so they're like, with most people, I'll bet the people that have been to Ohio, or people who meet from Ohio, or don't actually live in Ohio. They've been there, they were born there, their parents lived there. A lot of people leave, and we're kind of like, we export a lot of people. So yeah, that does sound funny. We export people. So there's this big attempt to retain the young, creative, energetic talent instead of having them educated and then go off. And we thought that having a more globally literate, culturally diverse, multicultural community helped them keep students there. The other thing is the companies, it's headquartered companies. Administrators, we got levies, it's often this, I didn't know this, I was asked to speak at the global think tank at Harvard on this because this was apparently a unique way for schools to educate the broader communities about global education. So I talked to someone from a Detroit suburb, very wealthy area, and she said, the biggest obstacle we have to expanding our global stuff in the schools is the parents. And I said, we're doing like a low-income area where they don't see the connections. No, it's a very affluent, a lot of the car company money, global executives, travel globally. Yes, Anna.
I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
I presented this idea to my board, and I just wanted to get your take on some of the opinions they expressed about it. I think if we don't do it, someone else is going to, so I want to do it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But a couple of their concerns were that, a report can kind of sit on the shelf, so how do you know you'll have funding to update it? And does our state or our city need another website? Are people actually going to use it? And kind of what are the next steps that you're going to... They were sort of like, well, so what? What is it going to do? When are you going to get together? What are the results down the line going to be?
Yeah, thank you for interrupting, by the way, because I had on my notes, ask for questions. There's pieces of paper at your table if you'd rather write it down. The person who was at your table that came up and got the handouts would be more than happy to bring them up, I'm sure, because he's already smiling. If you prefer to do that, or you can just interrupt at any time. And then we'll also have some time with our panel to do that. All right, so let me do it quickly. If I started getting nervous that we had a good idea and other people had money, namely our economic development people for the region. Our governor, Kasich, privatized economic development, said let's get rid of the government group and sub it out to this regional group in Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati. That group is called Columbus 2020. And if you see on the back, the largest logo, because size matters with funders, I'm like, just make this one the biggest. So slightly bigger, Columbus 2020, they gave 58 grand. Columbus Foundation gave about 23, and Morpsey gave about 15. They, and all the companies below are ones that funded us already. No new money came from them. I just want to recognize them. So I was worried 2020 could just do it on their own. They were paying for the whole dang thing, basically. And we had the scope from the research company. We had, everything was laid out. All you needed was a check. And I'm like, they're just going to go, why would they go through us? I'm sitting there, why would they go through us? I wouldn't go through you. Because it's just more bureaucracy. And then, but I kept pushing, this needs to be broader than economic development. And I was afraid that it would go right to like just economic development. We wouldn't have the demographic stuff, we wouldn't have the education stuff. So luckily this person was very good, and he was exposed to the World Affairs Council system. I don't know if LJ is here? LJ is from Charlotte. And this person was from Charlotte and worked at the World Affairs Council. He knew World Affairs. Thought it was very important. So I had an advocate in the guy with the money for what we do. And the other thing was I just kept positioning us as the ones leading. Okay, I'd like to call a meeting with the groups. We're talking through this. We'd like to get it set up. And then I was the one that asked them for money. I told the research company that I said, I'm the client. I'm going to get the money. That was a fine dance, and one of the feedbacks from the research company was, could you just have one? It'd be great if there was just one contact who could help. But I had to make sure there were all these people involved. So I would worry about that. I have a meeting, I had to do it this afternoon with the Asia Society, Longview Foundation, and others about how to make this thing national. And then in the morning tomorrow, I have another one. So there's people around that are wanting to do it. And it raised our profile more than any other action, speaker, board member, quote in our 40-year history. I did not anticipate that. So I can answer some more. Any other questions as we go? The population, the metro area, I think is like a million or so. The city is maybe 700,000 maybe. Anyone here know? I should know. Do you know? We always compete. Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus always say, depending on how you draw it. We always say we're the 15th largest city. So as a city, because of the annexation and stuff, I don't understand. But the metro, we're like 36th. That's the marketing thing on our lists. 15th largest city. Yes.
How did Columbus become immigrant friendly?
Pardon me?
Immigrant friendly.
Did you say how did it, or is it?
What is friendly among society? What made Columbus that?
Well, did I say that they were immigrant friendly? I'm not tweeting or all that. I'm trying to figure out what time it is. I guess I could look at my watch. Oh, I have it on. But, as my kids say, this watch doesn't have numbers. It's got things. They don't, anyway. I wouldn't necessarily make the judgment that we are immigrant friendly or not, although it's demonstrated the fact that more come. So, it depends on how you look at it. But I would say that we don't have as much history as, at least in Ohio, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Chicago. These are older Midwest cities with older immigrant groups, the Irish, the Italian, the Germans. We don't really have that because we're a newer city, service-based city, university, kind of a more, it's liberal in the sort of academic government way that cities can be liberal, versus Cleveland, which is very liberal, but it's more union kind of manufacturing, blue-collar liberal. So I think that maybe that has something to do with it. There's not a lot of embedded hatred or race issues. We're also, our African American community is does very well as a whole. Yeah. So the question is, why are they integrating? I don't know. That's part of what I think we want to find out. I know, there was a wave when Somalia was going through civil war. We got a lot of Somalis, and then there was the second wave, the second migration from people who were Somali that were other places, and they all came to Columbus and Minneapolis and others in Oregon. There's a lot too. I think generally our economy is doing okay. So So immigrants will get directed there if they're refugees. I think we have a lot of different immigrant groups. And so the combination of, and the universities is very big too. So, yes.
Just to touch on that point, I'm from San Diego, on the north, and we have a huge Somali population as well. And the draw for our community is that we have the International Rescue Committee, IRC, that provides micro-enterprise assistance to the immigrants of the Somali and Iraqi community specifically. So our organization is trying to partner with them and work on programs jointly with them. And then we're also trying to bring in some liaisons from their organization into our organization to kind of bridge the gap a little bit more in our immigrant population, because we're having that exponential growth as well.
Are they coming because they're settled there by IRC, or just because they know their service?
No, I come from an immigrant family as well, and it's usually that it's because you have family and friends there, and everybody wants to have a connection. You know, my family's of Ukrainian descent, and there's different pockets in the United States. A lot of Ukrainians, like Sacramento and other places. And it's just where your family and friends are. You want to migrate there, and then if you have a goal or a dream and you want to move out and branch out, that's kind of how it is. But certain cities offer more benefits to certain immigrant populations than others.
Behind you. Yep.
So the initial funding was secured.
More soon. That's a good question. It relates a little bit to Anna's question about sustainability of this, because you hate to do one thing 1 year. We didn't know. We've only had 1 year. I'm in the process now of year 2. And what I've heard is we want to continue this because we put so much money into it. The Columbus 2020, which has a lot of money from the state because it privatized economic development, it's kind of linked with our chamber and also our CEO group called the Columbus Partnership. They want to continue funding it. So I went and talked with Kenny's his name. I said, do you want to update this every year? He says, it's probably every other year. And I said, well, we did go to the research group and they said it'd be $49,000 to do it again. Of course, I'm like, why would it be? It was 51 or something the first time. I'm like, come on, you're doing the same, the same research, same methods, you got it. So I asked them, which they haven't done yet, but is say, what would it cost to do the economic part? What would it cost to do the education part? What would it do for the demographic part? Because I had this thought in mind that maybe it's going to get, each one's going to get sponsored individually, and maybe every other year it's a deep dive in education, and then 1 year it's economic. But he surprised me. He said, well, we could probably do 45, maybe every other year. I was like, so, okay. So that it was not a commitment up front, though, that this was a multi-year. There was an expectation going in that, we would probably want to update this. And I just, I found the grace. Carol.
So you've given us this information in the global report, but also included with the global education network, with, and it looks like this is all focused on K-12 schools. And so can you talk about this and where you're at? And have you been able to get funding?
Right, okay. So I'll do that, and then I'll wrap up, and then we can talk about the global cities, because global Columbus, global Philadelphia, global Kansas City, and global Portland, and we can tie some of that other stuff. I wish all this happened logically, because I'm kind of early, and I like to have cranberries on my cereal in the morning with green tea, and my wife's like, oh my God, can't you just have one day where you don't have your green tea? And I'm like, I'm over here, like, where's green tea? Now that you were there, I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was like, I like things to be in order, we did this was something we wrote on paper, like this idea I had coming in. We've all had this idea, right? But the timing of it and the champions matters. I came in all hot, leading the council at 29, like, we're going to change this city. No, that's why I'm like balding and gray, and it's only 8 years later. But now I realize we can't just do stuff based on hard work. You got to have, serendipity, timing, champions. So the Global Ed Network started because, well, this is where I wished it was this strategic. We spent a lot of time trying to get students and teachers at things that we did. What a pain. Yeah, we'll be there. You know, I'm a parent now. I would never commit to anything outside of something the school has to do that's on a weekend. There's just so much going on. So we had trouble getting people at our events, students and teachers. Great events once they got there, but one of the school buses broke down, or they decided they couldn't make it. And you go from like 75 to 50, and my K-12 person was spending so much time on that, texting students because they don't email anymore. And so we've just been, over the last couple of years, like, God, there's got to be a better way. We did something called Culture Camp in the summers now, where we said, let's go to where they are. Let's take the whole marketing promotion piece out of it. It's a waste of our time. We're not good at it. We're not staffed up. Let's go to where they are. Kids are in summer camps. Every organization runs a summer camp. Let's go to them and say, hey, do you want a global piece in your science camp? Girls in science? Yeah, we're talking about girl scientists from around the world, friction and Tour de France. And we now work with the Parks and Rec, we work with the Science Museum, we work with the zoo, we work with the Art Museum, and they can't get enough of it. They love it. We provide them free content. Now we're starting to think maybe we should charge them. But we're not sure. You know, we got to get them excited first. And then, so this model of moving from spending all our time marketing to spend our time, get where they are, and forget about caring how they get there. Some people have this hang up. Well, they shouldn't want to come to us. This is global affairs. Like, well, in Columbus, kids do care about global affairs. More adults don't. But they care about the Buckeyes, which, if you don't know, that's the football team in Ohio. It's kind of like the only thing in town. I'll lose funding for that comment. So this model was very intriguing to us. Let's get at multipliers. So the Global Ed Network does that for us. And we said, I was on a committee with the Department of Education, statewide committee on international education. We were trying to do stuff at the state level. The department had a person that they paid for. There were public, private. Procter & Gamble was on this, Martha Ellen Jennings Foundation, Ohio State University. We're all saying, how can we get K-12 to be more globally competent? That worked under first superintendent of Ohio Department of Ed, second superintendent, Ohio Department of Ed. That superintendent is now Arnie Duncan's assistant, something or other, superintendent, great for Columbus. So this international education piece went, but from the department. So the statewide push was gone. We were all standing there like, well, this is still important. And the chair of the committee said, maybe we can regionalize it. Columbus, Council of World Affairs, can you work with the local education service center? Do other states have educational service centers? These groups that, they're kind of like, they're different names in each state, but they do the hiring for the non-teaching staff, I guess, like special ed and custodians. And ours is now broadening to more shared services, like maybe we can house your website too, maybe we can hire your part-time staff. Anyway, they were linked to schools, 25 districts, they have meetings with the superintendents, they do all that, they get the people there. Right? We want you on our side because we can do the content, you can do the getting people there part. So our chair said, maybe you guys do it there. Cleveland, and Rich had to step out, but Rich was part of that, and Cleveland Council working with their Education Service Center to bring together districts and say, at the superintendent level, will you commit to being more globally, graduating more globally competent students? Cleveland had a year ahead of us, so we learned a lot from them. When we started, we said, all right, what's that mean? And we had a couple meetings with these. It started out with about 7 or 8 districts. You know, you get one superintendent, then you get some teacher who's really into it, and you get some superintendent who blew it off and assigned it to someone. We've got all that within this mix, different levels of commitment. But they said, but they all agreed we need to have our students be more globally competent. And a couple ideas bubbled up around which we now structure the meetings, committees. So one was the Global Scholarship Diploma. This one is like hot. Yeah, so it's gained a lot of interest because it's easy to understand. When a student from your school graduates, high school, they will get a stamp on their transcript that says Global Scholar. It's kind of like International Baccalaureate idea, but International Baccalaureate reaches 3% of the population or something like that. In Ohio, there's like 18 schools that offer it out of the thousands of schools. So the idea, and it costs a lot of money to do IB. And IB doesn't necessarily teach global competence. It's a global standard, but it's not necessarily global content. So all these reasons made us say, boy, a global scholar's stamp or endorsement or diploma might be a cool idea, let's start. And we heard from superintendents saying, I want my district to have something that differentiates students from that district. The thing was, though, this is a region. They're all working together. So we have 11 school districts that have signed on and have varying level of commitments. I just got an email today saying, this is just a teacher who wants to be involved. Do we really have district buy-in? So we're trying to work through all that, but there's a lot of interest. And we meet quarterly now, and we have a name, like a web portal, which isn't really working as it was envisioned. We still just email and talk. But there is some common interest, and this Harvard thing I spoke at, I asked the guy to be on our advisory committee, so he's on our advisory group. Someone from the Council on Foreign Relations who came to us about this, Education First, Asia Society, Longview Foundation, Martha Holden Jennings Foundation. So we got initial funding from the Martha Holden Jennings Foundation, $7,500 to do this, and that helped give us a reason to do it, because otherwise we're like, where's the money? But now, we just yesterday I heard from the Longview Foundation that they're going to support it, $21,000. It's our first national funding ever. So, why do they like it? Because they only fund systems level stuff. They like it because they think it's a model. It might be a model. They're willing to bet on this diploma. And the other piece that came as a goal is we need a community education toolkit. We as districts need to be able to educate our school boards about why global education matters. We need to be able to educate our PTA, blah, blah, blah. So those are gaining a lot of interest in how that can be then scaled nationally. So, does that kind of answer? So for both Global Columbus and Global Ed Network, we had to hire someone, part-time, contractor. This year we're paying Global Columbus version $25,000. Basically a year, part-time, semi-retired corporate executive. The Global Ed Network is the former person at the Ohio Department of Ed who did international education. Great reputation, great credentials, and we're paying her embarrassingly little for what we get. Part-time job, maybe quarter of her time probably. But it's getting bigger, and so now we got this other grant, so I'm like, all right, maybe we're going to have to pay her more. I hope she can get more time because she has another gig. Yes?
What are some of the specific programs that are what are some of the specific programs that have been put forth so far?
For what?
For the Global Education Program?
The Global Education Network?
Network.
Got it. The whole idea is it's not about programs, because that was the thing, is that we didn't want to do these little programs, and everyone said, oh, come. But what we realize now is that this is basically a marketing piece for our programs as count, because we do other stuff. We have another. So our day-long youth programs, the culture camps I mentioned, we're devising a global issues day. So go into a school and do the assembly, and it's focused on topics, not countries. So water, you hear about it from different perspectives. We're also, everything we do, every content piece we do, we're morphing that into an online module because we're wasting it if we don't. And so we're trying to focus on that, doing model African Union,